Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us on this week's instalment of Trending Treasury. This week we'll be talking to ICD about technology in Treasury and sort of how it's impacted everything through the pandemic. So, good morning, Carl. Thanks for joining us today. How are we?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Appreciate you guys asking me to be part of the webcast series. But yeah, looking forward to catching up with a few people.
Brilliant. Well, yeah, as I say, thanks for joining us. Let's crack on. Technology in Treasury, and I know you've got a slightly different title there as well. Actually, powering productivity through portal technology. Obviously, ICD is a brilliant money market fund portal that I think a lot of clients on the call at the moment use. Do you want to just kick us off? How has ICD been sort of helping productivity through the pandemic?
Yeah, no, definitely. Obviously, as I say, thanks for you guys for asking us to join on the webcast. It's great to be invited, and hopefully it won't be long before we'll be able to do these types of events in person. Obviously, today I'm going to look at how technology has and is continuing to help our clients access their investment portfolio. So what I'll do now, Stuart, is okay, you is just crack on with the rest of the presentation, and we can go forward from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Go
Excellent.
ahead.
Okay, if I need to.
Just whilst you're setting everything up, if anyone does have any questions, please pop them in the Q&A, and we'll address them either as we go through or at the end of the presentation.
Perfect. Okay. Just get this ready. There we go. So yeah, so thank you very much, everybody. Looking forward to presenting today. And as Stuart said, just going to be looking at technology and how it's kind of helped our clients access their investment portfolios. One of the things that lockdown has required everyone to do is to make most of technology for more aspects of their lives than previously. Whether it be those dreaded Zoom calls that were the only opportunities to speak and see family, friends, and dare I say it, recreate the pub environment, and obviously right through to work as well. Everyone has had to do it, young and old. My son took to it like a duck to water, as the younger generation does. But at the other end of the spectrum, you've got parents and grandparents now reasonably proficient at using this technology. A prime example is this webcast. Historically, as I said, this would have been in person over in a meeting room of some description. Now it's over Teams, probably the most important application on your PC. Well, other than the ICD portal, of course. Today, I'm going to look at how investment portals, specifically money market funds, have assisted Treasury teams during the pandemic, and how they can continue to assist when the lockdown is removed. I'm going to provide a quick introduction to ICD, then look at the technology that's been utilised to make everyone's lives easier. As Stuart has said, we will finish with questions, so please do submit any that you do have as we go through. For those of you who aren't familiar with ICD, we are Treasury's independent trusted portal provider for short-term investments, and our goal is to empower Treasury professionals with innovative products, great service and insightful commentary on the issues and trends impacting what we do every day. I started at ICD over 10 years ago. Doesn't time fly? During that time, we've gone from one local authority to in excess of 190 public sector organisations, including local authorities, police, fire, pension and housing associations. ICD operates globally and has in excess of 400 clients, investing over $210 billion into money market funds via the ICD portal. The overarching aim of the portal is to make your life investing in money market funds as simple as possible through enhanced technology and great service. Okay, so looking at pre-pandemic and looking at investments in money market funds, many investors had already seen the light and were using a portal to simplify investing into money market funds. These investors were able to take advantage of many of the attributes of a money market fund portal, of which I will cover as we go through the presentation. However, there were many that were still phoning, and dare I say it, faxing their trades to the individual money market funds. This process is very inefficient and has a large scope for errors. Either way, pre-pandemic, Treasury teams were all office-based. This meant the Treasury teams were in the same place, enabling them to easily discuss dealing requirements, sort out any issues, arrange payments and raising of chaps to settle purchases, and generally available for any assistance required. Then, on the 23rd of March last year, everything changed. One minute we were working in an office, the next we were trying to get IT equipment delivered to our homes so we could continue working. Lockdown had commenced. Nearly everyone expected this new world to be short-lived and we would quickly return to how things were. As we now know, that wasn't to be the case, and the likelihood of going back to how things were is now very unlikely. Everyone was thinking about the systems they were used to using and how they accessed them. From a Treasury and accounting perspective, people were asking themselves the questions: what systems did you need remote access to? Banking, daily balances, and to make payments, investment portals, manage your actual investments, treasury management system, cash flow balances, ledger and accounting systems, and of course, your daily files and documents that you needed to access. Then there was a question of accessing these systems. Were they stored on local system servers and PCs, or were they software as a service or cloud-based solutions? Remote access to the essential business systems suddenly became very important. Clearly, software as a service was the easier solution. Then the question, if they're installed locally, how can we access them? VPN? I'm sure many of you will have accessed local files and systems via VPN, and I'm also sure many of you will have experienced difficulty, internet not fast enough or even stable enough. Your home internet suddenly became very important, competing with your family for bandwidth while everyone was at home. Trying to do your team calls while your children on Xbox, only to keep them quiet on the call, of course. So Treasury teams were now operating from home and at a time when closing of accounts was also taking place. Never an easy process at the best of times. Treasury management relies on having the information needed at the time it's needed. Bank balances, cash flow, current investments, maturities, etc. So lots of information needed. With colleagues no longer in the same location, it became a lot harder to get the information needed, decisions made, and also to get actions actioned, raising chaps to settle purchases, for example. Those already using a money market fund portal would probably would have found many of these processes a lot easier. The Treasury manager also needed to be mindful of how exactly the investments they were using were performing. Markets were stressed, the unknown, and the data on money market funds needed to be accessed in a timely fashion. So lots of hurdles to overcome, but with the right technology, solutions in place, nothing that can't easily be resolved. I'm now going to shift focus specifically to money market fund portals. And for those not using a money market fund portal, I'm now going to go through some of the benefits that you would have enjoyed if you had been. One major benefit of a money market fund portal is that access to all of your money market fund balances are in one single place and can be accessed anywhere as long as you have an internet connection. This includes both short-term and standard money market funds, short duration bond funds, and also the ability to see your term deposits. It's also important to highlight that no software is required to access the portal. With the markets being stressed at the time, it's important for the investor to see the characteristics of the money market funds that they're invested in. So we had the experience where clients were asking for data on shadow net asset values, or the NAV. What's happening to the underlying value of the investments in my money market funds? Yields, overnight, 1 week and longer dated average yields. Where are yields? Unfortunately, falling to unprecedented lows. Also liquidity, overnight and weekly liquidity data. They're asking, what's the ability of the money market fund to meet their daily obligations? Will I get my money if I redeem funds? Also, as other data such as weighted average life and weighted average maturity was important. All these data points are updated daily on the portal, so investors can easily monitor, as you can see on the slide. Access to the money market fund portal provides the information and reassurance to the Treasury manager. If there are any issues, the Treasury manager has all the information needed at their fingertips. It's good to reassure that money market funds performed well during the pandemic. Redemptions were met, funds stayed within the parameters expected, including managing the net asset value, or the NAV. Investments in money market funds increased over the pandemic as more organisations held more cash. This was across the board in all sectors, public sector, corporates, etc. And these levels of investment in money market funds have continued. Most users of money market funds trade daily. They are a liquidity instrument after all. Having all your liquidity investments in a single place makes this easier. Being able to easily input all of your purchases and or redemptions in a single screen and seeing your trade ticket with all the transactions is easier and more efficient than placing individual trades with individual funds. Trading protocol can be straight through, i.e. one person can place the trade, or it can involve an authorization process before the trade is placed. All of this is simplified through technology. The trade is input on the portal and the authorised are notified electronically that a trade has been raised that needs approving. The approver can log on to the portal and approve the trade. When approved, everyone is notified that this is the case. Then a final notification is received saying that the money market fund has received the trade. So not everybody has to be in the same location or the same office. They can do all of this remotely and receive all of the electronic notifications. The portal keeps a full electronic audit trail. Everyone who has accessed the portal can see what trades have been raised, who raised them, and when they were raised, and what status they're in, draft, approved, or fulfilled. Trades and other data can be fed into Treasury management systems, for example, Logotech. This makes the process of data capture very accurate and efficient. So, great use of technology. During my time working in local government, I remember preparing the annual Treasury management strategy, working out what instruments can and should be available for use, and importantly, what exposure they should have within my portfolio. Whilst this was some time ago, and I'm not going to say how long, this won't have changed. Almost all users of money market funds will have some limits on exposure built into their Treasury management strategy. The portal will allow you to hard code limits, which ensures that you are always compliant with your Treasury management strategy. Two compliance rules commonly used by our public sector clients are maximum percentage of assets under management, limiting the size of your investment in relation to the overall size of the fund, and maximum notional investments in any fund, so a straightforward limit in cash terms. Other compliance rules are available or listed on the screen in front of you, including some linked to the EU regulations that came into being over 2 years ago. These specifically are movement of the net asset value, or NAV, and movement of the weekly liquidity of the money market fund. So, using technology to ensure full compliance. One area that is commonly mentioned as an issue is getting chaps raised to settle purchases. This was often difficult pre-lockdown, but at least you could get a knock on someone's door to try and interrupt to get a payment approved if it was nearing the deadline. But this was made even more difficult with everyone working remotely. ICD has the functionality to automatically settle purchases. This is called autopay. This is a secure and efficient way of automating your settlement process. Through the use of technology and digital signatures, payment requests can only be generated for your pre-approved counterparties. In addition to the data previously mentioned, the portal is able to provide detailed analysis of the underlying assets with the money market funds, and as all the money market fund details are held in a single place, it's able to aggregate this data. This provides a look through into the money market funds, giving information on counterparty, country exposure and risk metrics such as credit ratings, CDS prices, equity prices, and also balance sheet information. So very similar to the data you are probably receiving from Arlingclose on other types of investments you might be using. This information builds on the daily data the Treasury Manager has access to on the portal, providing a very detailed picture of what the money market funds are invested in and how they are being managed. Enhanced reporting containing all of this information can be produced at a push of a button, ideal for monthly and quarterly Treasury management reports. One major benefit that has fallen out of lockdown, and I'm not sure whether there are that many, is the ability to use digital and electronic signatures. Obtaining signatures was difficult when based in the office and virtually impossible when remote working. Wet signatures are now a thing of the past, and digital and electronic signatures have removed these issues, and hopefully they are here to stay. Client servicing is also a very important factor in all aspects of using money market funds, from account opening, trading and post-trade activities. It's important to know, even if you're working at home or in the office or working remotely somewhere else, that you've got access to somebody to help you with any issues that you've got. ICD's client service desk is based in London and is fully staffed, having taken on an additional 2 members of the team during lockdown, of which we are yet to meet in person. 1 telephone number and 1 email provides access to the whole team. Okay, so I've been through some of the benefits of using the portal during lockdown, highlighting that technology provides a more efficient and accurate way of trading, along with additional levels of due diligence and compliance. But what's next? We all hope that July the 19th, this Monday, provides everyone with additional freedom and an environment more akin to what we experienced prior to the pandemic. But will things revert to pre-pandemic from a work perspective? Many organisations are already planning on a more flexible approach, a split week with some time in the office, some time at home working. This adds to the already compelling reasons for using technology to make processes efficient and accurate, and in some cases possible. I hope it also demonstrates the advantages of using a portal, accessing all your data anywhere while you have internet. No need for paper documents. All of your liquidity data is in one place. Basically, everything I've just covered relating to the pandemic will still apply moving forward. Plus the issue of upgrading your home internet, of course, if that's possible. We all knew how important technology was to businesses, but the lockdown made people look at how they could use this smarter, introduce systems that enable people to work in different locations and remotely. The ICD Portal provides all of the benefits discussed, whether you are based in the office or remotely. This brings me to the end of my presentation. Hopefully, for those of you not already using a portal, this has given you food for thought. And for those using a portal, maybe some ideas on making more use of the portal. So I'd now like to open the floor to questions.
Brilliant. Thanks, Carl. So I mean, some of the things that have happened over the course of the pandemic have led to some good outcomes in terms of the uptake in sort of technology across the sector. Is this something that the money market fund portals like ICD can help monitor market stress during the height of the pandemic? Is that something that they can do?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think with the start of the pandemic, we did get a lot of people asking questions about the portal purely because they needed to try and trade or continue trading. And then as people started to sign up and we had existing users, there were a lot of people looking at the the attributes to the money market funds. So the things like the WAM, the WAL, daily liquidity, weekly liquidity, and they're asking, can they access that information? It wasn't information that they used on a regular basis previously, but it was information they started to. On the portal itself, you have the ability to customize your screen so that when you log in, you can see all of that information for all of your money market funds. So it gives you the ability at a glance to see all of that information. And recently we've just introduced a new functionality, which is a dashboard, which allows you at a glance when you log in to see different attributes of your money market funds. So it's quite easy now to monitor all of that information, and you can export all of that obviously to Excel, so you can do further analysis on that. But yeah, the funds are providing that information on a daily basis. We upload it in the morning and it's available for clients to see, to monitor and take use of before they actually do their daily trading.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, it's something that we were monitoring here at Arlingclose as well. You know, the daily liquidity, the weekly liquidity, the assets under management. Yeah, and it was quite important to do this during the height of the pandemic last year. And you know, we keep doing it going forward. Possibly not quite as rigidly every day the daily liquidity, but certainly you know the daily liquidity did go up quite a bit for a lot of the money market funds. Actually, I'll just touch on something you mentioned earlier about the short bond funds that have been brought onto the platform. Do you also sort of envision ICD expanding into cash plus funds, or have you done already?
Yes, no, we have a full lineup of cash plus funds and short duration bond funds, standard money market funds. They all kind of get linked together, but they all are obviously slightly different in the way that they operate. But yes, no, we have expanded into those. I think during the start of the pandemic, there was a lot of interest in those products, and the public sector traditionally has been a big user of those types of products. And I think as the interest rates headed towards the zero, and there was also talk of negative interest rates, people were looking at, well, is there an opportunity to put part of my portfolio into a slightly higher yielding product that operated very similar to a money market fund? So the cash plus products were ideal in that space. As yields hit zero, and they haven't gone negative, and touch wood, they don't, and we're seeing the yields the gross yields kind of stabilize, and all the talk of inflation and all that kind of stuff, we're not hopefully going to move into that kind of space. We've seen, whilst the noise was quite a lot, we haven't seen a lot of people open these products, but we have seen some movement into those products. But they're all available, and one of the great things that goes back to the information available on the portal is all of the daily NAVs for these products, because they are VNAV products, are available, so you can see what the exact value of your portfolio is in these products.
Brilliant. And it's another thing you touched on earlier. You know, some local authorities have multiple approval processes in place when you know, going into and out of money market funds. Can the portal incorporate all of these?
Yeah, so basically I suppose there's kind of two main ways of doing it. You can have one person do straight through, which is used quite a bit. You can also have it so that you have a list of people that can input and submit, and then a list of people that can actually authorize. But we also have the ability to set it up so that you can have a list of people that can input and authorize, but can't authorize their own trades. So that gives you kind of the maximum flexibility, and you can mix and match how that works for your individual setup. I think one of the important things is obviously you've got to make sure that the size of your treasury management team are able, or people that are involved in it, are able to cover holidays, etc. Because the last thing you want to have is set up so that you've got total segregation of duty, and then somebody's on holiday and then somebody else is on sick, and then you can't suddenly trade. So it's important to take into account those aspects and have the flexibility. So we have quite a few people that have it set up so that everybody can input and authorize, but they can't authorize their own trades.
Yeah, brilliant. And another thing you mentioned, the accessibility. Are you able to use multiple devices to sort of use the portal?
Yes, no, you can. Funny enough, you can use it on any device. We support all of the browsers, the latest versions of the browsers. So you could, if you wanted to, access it on your iPhone. but it's quite small when you are doing that. But it's ideal on an iPad and any other device. So yeah, you can access it when you're on the iPad on the beach, if we're ever allowed to do that anymore, go on holiday. So yeah, all devices you can access the portal on.
Brilliant. So even the small treasury teams where there's only two people, one person can input the trade and the other person sat on the beach can authorize it.
Exactly.
We have had a question come in. What reports are available on the portal and how readily available are they?
So there's a number of reports that you can do. You can look at what your accruals are, so you can see the accurate dividend accruals, and you can specify the period that you want that for. Ideal for close down, because you can just select the whole year and there's your working paper for the auditor. But you can also select just monthly, so updating control accounts. If you're just using spreadsheets, you could use that as your control account. There's also quite a lot of reports available on Transparency Plus, which allows you to look into the money market funds. So you can do individual reports on money market funds. So for example, if you're looking at opening a new money market fund and you wanted to see the attributes of that money market fund, you would be able to just run a report on that fund and see what the underlying assets are and all the attributes around that, or where its exposures are, country and counterparty, etc. Or you can do it on your whole portfolio. So you're able to run those reports periodically as and when you want to. So you can access Transparency Plus or any of the other reports as well as often as you want and run those reports.
Brilliant. And so in terms of using the portal, how far can you forward deal for your sort of your liquidity trades with the money market funds?
Well, in theory, you can forward deal as far as you want, but in reality, obviously, as you kind of highlighted there, it's a liquidity, and nobody really actually knows what their daily liquidity is on a day-by-day basis, because payments come and go that you're not expecting. So traditionally, we would find somebody setting up a payment, particularly if it's a large one-off payment or a large one-off redemption, you know, a couple of days in advance, but you can set them up as and when you want to. It's quite handy. Back in the day when people used to work in the office and at Christmas you only had skeleton staff and you knew that you either had a back run or you had a salary payment going out, you could set that up on the portal to make sure that the money came back. But obviously now with people working from home, they'll be able to do the exact figures and probably trade on the day.
Yeah, and that's quite an important thing you mentioned there, actually, that some of the local authorities have quite high cash balances at the moment from various grants that they've got from central government and don't know precisely when they need to pay that back, or if and when. So yeah, it's quite important to have that flexibility. We have had another question come in, and of course this one comes down to fees. Do you charge a per trade fee, or is it a fixed annual fee for using the portal?
There are no fees for the investors on the portal. As anyone using money market funds will know, that they're put into a share class that attracts a management fee. The money market funds pay us a small percentage of that management fee, and there's no hidden charges to the investor either. That management fee that they would get going direct to a money market fund would be exactly the same as going through ICD. So the investor doesn't pay for the portal itself. We get paid by the money market funds for assisting distributing their funds.
Brilliant, thanks for that. And lastly from me, if there are any more questions, please pop them in the chat. But yeah, so your omnibus account that you sort of have on the portal that gives you access to all of the money market funds, have you seen sort of an increase in usage of that, just so that local authorities or even other clients have access to multiple rather than opening direct accounts?
So yeah, so the clearing solution that's run through JP Morgan Clearing is it's not purely an omnibus. It is clearing in the client's name is in the title of the account, so the funds can see that. I wouldn't say we particularly had an uptake in that particular solution over using direct funds. Not all of the money market funds are on the clearing solution. So you tend to have a bit of a hybrid solution that if they're using a large number of funds that are available on clearing, they will use the clearing, but there are a number of direct funds that they will be using already that they want to continue using, so they'll use a hybrid solution. But certainly the clearing solution is popular due to the ease of opening and also the ease of trading, because one chaps covers multiple settlements, so it's popular within the public sector domain.
Brilliant. We've sort of got to the end of the half an hour session. Thank you very much for joining us, Carl. It's been quite interesting, and I quite like the deployment of technology into the public sector. It sort of makes everything slightly more efficient, which is always a plus. So yeah, thank you very much for joining us, and
thank you for inviting.
Yeah, and thank you everyone for attending. We'll hope to see you next week, where we're joined by Pi Capital, talking about income strip solutions. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye.